In the pouring rain, a desperate hand begins a mysterious ritual, pleading for a great being to answer. Kneeling on a rooftop, he begs for fame, fortune, and the power to change his life. His cracked phone reveals the source of his despair, crushing debt and angry threats. Crying out to the heavens, he offers his soul and body, willing to become a servant for a chance at a better life. As he makes his final plea, a strange purple energy crackles to life within his eye. The sky responds with a colossal bolt of otherworldly lightning, striking down with immense force. After the blinding flash, he lies unconscious on the ground, the ritual markings still visible around him. He slowly awakens, his eyes fluttering open with a look of complete confusion. Clutching his head, he's completely disoriented, remembering only being at his office moments ago. He looks into a puddle to get his bearings, only to be shocked by his own reflection. He recoils in shock, completely bewildered by his unfamiliar face and younger appearance. His eyes widen in dawning horror as the impossible truth of his situation begins to sink in. He's suddenly transported to a strange city, crouching before a colossal, glowing tree that dominates the skyline. A mysterious, disembodied voice suddenly congratulates him for his unknown achievement. He glances around in utter confusion, trying to pinpoint the source of the voice. A sinister, floating grimoire appears, revealing it was summoned and offering him 3 wishes as a reward. He panics, realizing a talking book confirms his worst fear. He has been transported to another world. He quickly analyzes his situation, considering this his cheat, but feeling shortchanged by only 3 wishes. With a sly grin and a glint in his eye, he makes his first wish. 10 more wishes. The entity in the book lets out a wide, menacing grin, clearly amused by the boy's cleverness. The grimoire unleashes a torrent of dark energy, realizing the contract is more complex than it first appeared. The sheer force of the entity's power sends the boy flying backward. From the swirling chaos, a colossal demonic being materializes, identifying him as a new soul. He recoils in terror, questioning the monster's identity and the nature of this so-called soul contract. The entity dismisses his question, declaring him unworthy of even knowing its name. It reveals a horrifying truth. It claimed the original owner's soul, and since he now possesses the body, he belongs to it too. The boy's face twists in horror as he realizes this wasn't a cheat power, but a sacrificial trap. His survival instincts kick in, and he immediately turns to flee for his life. But the demon calmly raises a clawed hand, casually mentioning it forgot a crucial detail. As punishment for trying to break the contract, he is instantly engulfed in agonizing, otherworldly flames. He writhes in agony, engulfed in the punishing, otherworldly fire. The demon looks on with contempt, finding his weak soul utterly boring. With a menacing glow in its eye, the entity tells him to simply accept his demise. But through the searing pain, the boy musters the strength to invoke contract law. He argues that the demon's interference makes the contract impossible to fulfill, thus voiding the punishment. The entity is stunned, questioning the mortal's audacity to challenge it with rules. He deduces that since he wasn't killed instantly, this must be a test for a suitable candidate. With a defiant grin, he asks the demon directly if he qualifies to form a new contract. The monstrous being lets out a quiet, almost amused huff caught completely off guard. It erupts with power, declaring with newfound interest that he's the first to ever dare negotiate. The entity admits its interest is piqued and offers him a chance to sign a new contract. He boldly makes his own terms. 1 wish granted, and he'll give the demon a new life. His wish is for 999 more wishes, a demand that leaves the demon utterly stunned. The entity mocks his audacity, reminding him he has less than a minute before his body gives out. With his life fading fast, he resigns himself to his fate, seeing no other way out. He accepts the terms, officially binding himself to the soul contract as contractor Joe Chen. In a flash, he's transported from the ethereal plane back to the real world, outside a nondescript building. He finds himself standing in front of his new home, apartment 35. Still in his tattered clothes, he curses his new boss for unceremoniously dumping him there. A portal opens, and the entity tells him to live as he pleases until it has a use for him. He reflects on his new servitude, expecting a life of endless labor under his demonic boss. Realizing complaining is useless, a steely resolve hardens his gaze. Deciding to face his new reality head-on, he unlocks the door to his new life. He steps into the small, disheveled apartment, the place he now calls home. Surveying the bleak interior, he realizes the original owner's family situation is far more dire than he imagined. He discovers a shocking loan agreement sealed with blood, revealing the family's desperate measures. Suddenly, an aggressive voice shatters the silence, calling out to him. Before he can react, a blond man ambushes him with a brutal, unexpected attack. He crashes to the floor as his assailant towers over him, furiously questioning his whereabouts. Surrounded by thugs, he learns they consider him a prophet as their leader prepares to deliver another punishing blow. Disoriented and hurt, he demands to know who these attackers are. The blonde thug continues his brutal assault, reminding him of a past due loan. The thug mocks his family's poverty and desperation for money. Another painful blow lands as the thug insults his mother's sacrifice. He's deemed worthless and beneath the thug's notice. A flashback reveals a tender moment with his mother discussing his future. He recalls a disturbing dream about his mother's hardship. He remembers his mother's tireless work and worries about her health. His mother's words of concern echo in his mind. His mother comforts him, reassuring him everything will be all right. He remembers his mother's promise to always be his shield, no matter what. Her voice echoes in his mind, urging him to have faith in his own strength. Fueled by this memory, a brilliant blue light erupts from his eye, signaling a dramatic shift. The blonde thug, oblivious to the change, continues his angry tirade. He lunges forward to deliver another blow, enraged by the boy's sudden silence. But in a flash, the boy counters with a devastating kick, sending his attacker flying across the room. The gang's leader calmly tells his man to ease up, not yet realizing what just happened. Now on his feet and glowing with power, the boy effortlessly stops the leader's hand, much to the man's shock. His first attacker is left dazed and broken after crashing violently into the wall. The remaining thugs stare in disbelief, realizing the tables have just been turned. The thugs are stunned as a crackling blue aura erupts from the boy, questioning if he just achieved a new level of power. With a cold, glowing gaze, he dismisses their threats, finding their constant chatter annoying. The gang's leader scoffs at his arrogance, ordering his men to teach the low-level brat a lesson. Two enforcers with glowing red eyes and energized blades step forward, agreeing to permanently injure him. He calmly assesses his own newfound power, realizing his opponents are likely stronger despite their foolish behavior. Enraged by the defiance, the leader lunges forward, unleashing a powerful, shadowy strike. His perception sharpens dramatically, allowing him to see every detail of his opponent's attack. The leader's brutal attack misses its mark, shattering the floor where the boy once stood. Confused by the sudden disappearance, the thug frantically searches for his target. In a blur of motion, the boy appears behind him, ready to deliver a swift, incapacitating strike. He unleashes a vicious kick, catching the gang leader square in the jaw. The leader flies backward, stunned by the impossible speed and strength of a supposedly low-level fighter. Believing he had found a blind spot, the thug had intended to land a crippling blow. He swung his weapon with full force, confident his attack would connect. But the boy effortlessly blocks the strike with his bare arm, stopping the weapon cold. The leader's face contorts in horror, realizing his opponent anticipated the move without even looking. With a final, dismissive gesture, the boy sends the leader crashing to the floor, utterly defeated. The once arrogant thug now begs for his life, revealing they were sent by someone named Lin Yu. The boy contemplates this new name, his expression unreadable as he processes the information. With a cold final warning, he promises to pay the debt and orders the thugs to get out of his sight. He watches impassively as the thugs retreat, dragging their unconscious leader out the door. Alone in the trashed apartment, he silently reflects on his newfound, terrifying power. He then calls out to the empty room, knowing his demonic patron has been watching the entire time. The grimoire materializes, confirming it lent him a sliver of power to prevent his certain demise. Overjoyed, he realizes the entity is his ultimate cheat and imagines becoming invincible with its help. The entity scoffs at his fantasy, warning that its power is too immense for a mortal and he was lucky to survive. He shrewdly argues that getting stronger would make him a more effective servant for the demon's wishes. His demonic boss promises a future reward, but sternly forbids him from borrowing its power again. Privately, the entity admits the boy exceeded all expectations with his control over the borrowed energy. The grimoire then asks him to make his second wish, prompting him to consider his next move carefully. Caught off guard by the request for a second wish, he admits he hasn't thought of one yet. The entity offers no guidance, telling him to do as he pleases until his purpose is revealed. Annoyed by the lack of direction, he realizes he'll have to navigate this unfamiliar world all on his own. He decides to investigate the previous owner's phone, hoping to piece together the life he has inherited. He discovers a history of debt and costly supplements, but is unsettled by the complete lack of family communication. His expression freezes as he finally stumbles upon a deeply unsettling message he'd missed. He discovers a frantic message from the original owner's sister, learning their mother is in a coma at Tianlan Hospital. Wasting no time, he immediately heads for Tianlan Hospital under the night sky. He frantically searches the hospital corridors, his face a mask of worry and desperation. Arriving at the room, he sees a young woman, his new sister, keeping a solemn watch over their mother. He acknowledges the tense atmosphere, understanding his sister's anger is justified. He identifies the solemn young woman as his new sister, Zhou Yueqing. His gaze shifts to the hospital bed, preparing himself for the sight of his new mother. He looks upon the frail, unconscious woman, the weight of his new identity crashing down on him. Contrasting her current state with a memory of a vibrant woman, he wonders if the original owner's actions led to this. He awkwardly approaches his sister, apologizing for his absence and asking about their mother's condition. His sister responds with cold disdain, demanding to hear his latest excuse. She scoffs at him, sarcastically questioning if he was too busy with his training to care. Clenching the bedsheet, she reveals their mother collapsed from exhaustion while trying to pay off his debts. Her grief and anger explode as she condemns him for abandoning their mother after the family sacrificed everything for him. His sister reveals their mother nearly died, unable to even afford the ICU because of his debts. Looking away, she admits that she and their mother are completely exhausted by the ordeal. She places a card on the table with 6 months of living expenses, declaring she will now take care of their mother alone. With finality, she declares his debts are his own to bear, severing all financial ties. Stunned and heartbroken, he struggles to comprehend the meaning behind her words. With her back turned, she officially disowns him, stating they have no connection from this day forward. As he walks alone, his demonic patron senses his turmoil, questioning if the woman's words truly affected him. The entity reminds him that this woman is a stranger, and her problems are not his to carry. With a wry smile, he admits surprise at the entity's attempt at comfort, explaining the situation merely reminded him of his own past. He reflects on his previous life, remembering the frustration of wanting to speak but being unable to find the words. He dismisses the family drama, reminding the entity of its promise to help him grow stronger if he proves his worth. With renewed determination, he believes that with enough power, he can fix the mess he's inherited. The grimoire's eye snaps open, confirming with a sinister grin that his potential depends entirely on his usefulness. He scoffs at the idea of a fated point, now ready to forge his own path in this new world. Surrounded by a powerful blue aura, he walks with newfound purpose as the entity warns him not to fail. The scene shifts to the dazzling lights of the Yaoye Club in Wright City. Inside the opulent presidential suite, a man discusses expanding his profitable business. The man, a powerful boss, listens as his subordinate reports that a student injured 3 of their debt collectors. Annoyed, the boss blames these rogue collectors for scaring away business and orders them to be dealt with. The subordinate clarifies that this case is different, as the injured thugs were high-level fighters. The subordinate clarifies the student is only an apprentice level 2, a fact that catches the boss's attention. Leaning forward, the boss demands to know the identity of this surprisingly strong student. His man presents a file on Zhou Chen, theorizing he must be hiding his true strength to defeat higher-level opponents. A sly grin spreads across the boss's face, amused by the boy's attempt to conceal his power. He orders his men to monitor Zhou Chen, recognizing a talent that shouldn't go to waste. The next morning, Zhou Chen is already up and active, leaping from a rooftop to start his day. He runs through the city streets with a newfound sense of purpose. A local man spots him, surprised by his early morning activity. The man greets him, attempting to sell him a new batch of expensive training supplements. Zhou Chen politely turns down the offer, waving as he continues on his determined path. The supplement seller watches him go, musing that the kid seems much more cheerful lately. For the next few days, Zhou Chen focuses on training, allowing the original owner's memories to merge with his own. He learns that in this world, people called speakers gain power by consuming special supplements. As he pushes his body's limits, he understands the crippling debt came from the high cost of these power-enhancing medicines. Testing his physical capabilities, he realizes his new body has a much higher potential than he ever imagined. He marvels at his new strength, realizing why people risk everything to become speakers in a world where power is everything. Just as he's getting into his routine, his phone buzzes, interrupting his thoughts. An insistent voice on the other end reminds him that his time off is over and he's expected back at school. He plays it cool but inwardly panics, having completely forgotten about his life as a student. With no other choice, he makes his way to the imposing campus of Reitlon High School. In a classroom, the teacher begins a lecture on the economic impact of the world's superpowered individuals, known as speakers. Jochin listens intently, absorbing the fact that a speaker's status is determined entirely by their rank and strength. He learns about the power progression, a ladder from grade E to S that requires mastering each level to advance. The highest level, grade S, is a tier of power so immense that its wielders are considered godlike. He sketches the world's social structure, a 5-layered system dictated by a speaker's grade. The powerful reside in the central city strata, while ordinary people and low-level speakers are relegated to the outer layer. Knowing he's at the bottom, his new priority is to level up fast and gain access to better resources. His concentration is suddenly broken as a projectile hits him in the back of the head. He turns to find a group of bullies, their leader smirking triumphantly at his successful prank. The lead bully gets in his face, belittling his high test scores and claiming he's physically worthless. Unfazed by the taunts, he reflects that bullies are the same no matter the world. The teacher interrupts, announcing a fitness test on the field, much to the students' excitement. The scene shifts to the expansive athletic field of Wright Speaker High. While stretching, he finds the speaker program's focus on physical education surprisingly laid back. But his moment of peace is cut short as the same bully approaches him on the field. Onlookers gossip, noting that a fight between these two is a common occurrence. The bully violently shoves another student aside, warning the crowd to stay back. Grabbing Jochin's collar, the aggressor mocks his recent change in attitude and his useless test scores. He sneers that in a world of speakers, Jochin's low level makes him completely worthless. With a cold stare, Jochin turns the logic back on him, pointing out the bully is also a low-level fighter. The bully is left stunned, completely caught off guard by the sharp retort. His shock quickly turns to rage as he lunges forward, aiming a furious punch at Jochin's face. But his fist is stopped mid-air, caught effortlessly in Jochin's unyielding grip. Holding the bully's hand, he calmly asks if the man has anything else to say. The aggressor panics, unable to break free and suddenly feeling small before his once weak target. With glowing eyes, Jochin uses the bully's logic, wondering if power now gives him the right to do as he pleases. Sheer terror washes over the bully's face as he realizes the tables have completely turned. A powerful blue aura erupts around Jochin, radiating an intimidating pressure. Even Jochin is momentarily taken aback by the immense force he's now commanding. Gritting his teeth, the bully is forced to acknowledge his opponent's unexpected nerve. An intimidating figure with glowing red eyes appears, revealed to be the grade D PE teacher. The teacher glares at Jochin, immediately blaming him for the commotion. With a disarming smile, Jochin calmly explains it was just a friendly sparring session. He casually releases the bully's wrist, who is still fuming from the confrontation. The teacher issues a stern warning before ordering the class to prepare for their fitness test. He reminds the students of their upcoming graduation exam and a crucial exchange tournament. The teacher hypes up the tournament, offering a chance at a prestigious academy and selling imported supplements to boost their performance. He reveals the supplements cost a hefty $6,000, framing it as an investment in their future. The test begins, and the bully quickly exhausts himself, struggling to complete his pull-ups. In contrast, another student effortlessly completes 50 reps, radiating a powerful golden energy. Leaning against a pillar, he finds the so-called Oracle's test to be rather underwhelming. A concerned voice calls out to him, asking if he's okay after the confrontation. The class representative, holding a supplement, explains she was worried about his sudden absence from school. Flustered, she insists she was just curious, while he calmly thanks her for her concern. She then asks if he's buying the teacher's supplements, but he admits he's completely broke. The girl, Liu Tiantian, warns him that his test results will suffer without the performance-enhancing drugs. As her name is called, she wishes him luck and heads off to take her own test. Despite her good intentions, Liu Tiantian visibly struggles to complete her pull-ups. The teacher tallies his sales, noting that students who bought supplements are passing the test. Jochin realizes the supplements are a way to buy better scores, but he's confident he doesn't need them. The teacher calls out the last name on the list, and Jochin calmly steps forward for his turn. Watching him approach, the teacher notes with suspicion that this student didn't purchase any supplements. With a sinister grin, the teacher decides to make an example of him, planning to rig the results to ensure his failure. Jochin inspects the equipment, sensing that this seemingly simple test holds a hidden challenge. He takes a firm grip on the pull-up bar, preparing himself for whatever comes next. The moment he begins, his eyes widen in shock as he feels an unexpected resistance. He realizes the wrist guards are adding weight, getting heavier the more power he exerts, revealing the test's true difficulty. However, he quickly adapts, realizing the added weight has a limit that his newfound strength can easily overcome. Embracing the challenge, he unleashes his power, pushing the weight from 20 kilos all the way to a staggering 100 kg. The other students, including his bully, can only stare in open-mouthed shock at his impossible display of power. The students are floored, realizing his strength is now on par with a second-rank elite. He lands with a solid thud, effortlessly completing the impossible test. His classmates instantly mob him, begging to know the secret behind his sudden power-up. From a distance, the teacher watches in disbelief, wondering how this weakling improved so drastically. He panics, realizing that if students learn power can be gained without his expensive supplements, his side business is ruined. With a sinister grin, the teacher decides it's time to teach this upstart a valuable lesson. Meanwhile, a panicked voice erupts from the principal's office over a sudden change to the exchange tournament. The principal learns the school's funding is being cut, with all resources redirected to more prestigious academies. He slams the phone down in frustration, left with no recourse against the higher-ups' decision. Desperate and out of options, he considers gambling the school's entire budget on a single promising student. The principal despairs in his office, fearing his academy will collapse under his watch. A knock at the door reveals the PE teacher, who is promptly invited inside. The teacher presents the students' test scores, confidently praising their performance. But the principal dismisses the results as pathetic until the teacher mentions one unusual exception. Intrigued, the principal asks for the student's name, and the teacher identifies Zhou Chen. Meanwhile, Zhou Chen is summoned to the office, completely unaware of why he's been called. He approaches the principal's door, worried that he's in for some serious trouble. Just as he reaches for the handle, a mysterious flame ignites in his palm. He stares in shock as the fire envelops his hand, a sign from his demonic patron. The entity reveals a new task has been triggered, presenting a flaming scroll and a dire warning to obey. Startled by the summons, he hesitates at the principal's door as the demonic grimoire glows ominously beside him. He enters the spacious office where the principal confirms his identity without turning around. The principal acknowledges his impressive test scores, but dismisses his other infractions as irrelevant. With a cold expression, he declares that money is everything, and advises Zhou Chen to abandon his ambitions. Stunned by the suggestion, Zhou Chen realizes the principal wants him to drop out of school entirely. The principal explains that given his family's financial struggles, continuing his training is a path to certain failure. Internally, the principal justifies his decision, planning to reallocate the school's limited resources to a more promising student. He then makes the offer official, offering a tuition refund if Zhou Chen agrees to leave immediately. But just as the principal dismisses him, the demonic grimoire materializes with a new objective. The entity reveals its mission: to acquire a mysterious glittering black crystal located somewhere within the office. He questions the entity, only to learn a crucial catch. For the demon to claim the crystal, he must first legally own it. This new mission complicates his own goals, as reaching the middle city requires a graduation certificate he's about to lose. He calms himself, realizing his unique potential is a powerful bargaining chip with the school. He hatches a bold plan: achieve a power breakthrough right now to prove his undeniable value. Turning to his patron, he cleverly asks to choose the reward it promised him earlier. The grimoire's eye widens in dawning horror, suddenly realizing his audacious intention. With a determined, glowing gaze, he declares he wants another infusion of the entity's power. The entity furiously refuses, warning his mortal body can't handle the strain, but he insists he has no other choice. With a confident smirk, he argues that if he fails, the entity's mission fails too, telling it to just trust him. Stunned silent by his flawless logic, the demonic grimoire can only stare, completely outmaneuvered. The entity reluctantly agrees, deciding any negative outcome is not its concern. A new contract clause materializes, allowing him to borrow power but making him solely responsible for the consequences. Without hesitation, he accepts the high-risk, high-reward terms. The principal turns, annoyed by the delay, and asks what else he could possibly want. With newfound confidence, he requests the principal test his power level one more time. He challenges the principal to base the decision of his expulsion on the results of this new test. The principal, intrigued by this final appeal, sighs and extends his hand for a power-reading handshake. As they shake, the principal senses his power, noting he's a level 2. Better, but still unimpressive. Knowing this is his only chance, Zhou Chen prepares to unleash the borrowed power, uncertain of the outcome. He focuses all his will, determined to draw out as much demonic energy as he can possibly handle. A brilliant blue energy erupts from their handshake as he channels the demonic power. The principal's eyes widen in disbelief, feeling an impossible surge of energy from the student. A massive aura explodes from Zhou Chen, overwhelming the principal with its sheer force. Even the demonic entity is shocked, realizing the boy's outburst surpasses the power it lent him. The principal stumbles back, utterly bewildered by the student's sudden and dramatic power spike. Now radiating the strength of a level 4, he calmly asks the principal to reconsider his decision. A glimmer of hope appears as the principal realizes this student might be the key to saving his school. In a complete reversal, the principal desperately begs Zhou Chen to represent the school in the upcoming competition. Zhou Chen is left speechless, completely caught off guard by the principal's sudden and frantic plea. The principal explains that competing at level 4 is their last chance to impress the ministry and avoid having their funding cut. The principal quickly backpedals, claiming his harsh words were a misunderstanding to better allocate resources. As an apology, he offers to waive tuition, double the supplement supply, and fulfill any other needs. He then pleads with Zhou Chen to represent them, admitting the school's very survival is on the line. Sensing his immense leverage, Zhou Chen boldly asks for the black crystal on the cabinet as part of his compensation. The principal identifies the object as a black star crystal, a symbolic but otherwise useless artifact from the Middle City. With a calculating grin, he agrees that if Zhou Chen can save the school, the crystal is his for the taking. Zhou Chen confidently accepts the deal, promising to do his absolute best in the upcoming competition. When asked about his sudden power spike, he nervously claims it's a secret technique for hiding his true strength. The principal readily believes this excuse, praising his tactical awareness and promising to keep his level a secret. A teacher is then summoned and ordered to immediately escort Zhou Chen to the special class with his new supplies. The teacher escorts him to the special class, explaining the entire second floor is reserved for elite students. As she probes his connection to the principal, the furious PE teacher suddenly rushes toward them. The PE teacher grabs him, falsely claiming he fought to prevent his expulsion and offering empty words of encouragement. His escort corrects the PE teacher, revealing Zhou Chen isn't being expelled but promoted to the special class. She then informs the PE teacher that the furious principal has summoned him, causing the man to pale in terror. Later that night, back in his room, Zhou Chen collapses onto his bed, completely exhausted. He despairs over the impossible task of leveling up twice in 3 months and asks his patron for a shortcut. The entity warns him against using its power again, and he agrees, knowing he must rely on his own strength for the tournament. Looking on the bright side, he reflects that he avoided expulsion and is now getting free supplies. But a notification on his phone shatters his calm, reminding him a massive debt is due in just 5 days. The next day, he arrives at the imposing campus of Reitlon High School. He feels awkward and out of place, unsure of what to expect from the elite class. He finds himself in a deserted, factory-like corridor, wondering if he's in the right place. A voice calls out his name, and he turns to see a man approaching him. The man waves from a distance, beckoning him forward with a friendly gesture. Up close, the man enthusiastically calls out to him, confirming he's in the right spot. The man explains he came looking for him after noticing his absence during roll call. He introduces himself as Mr. Zhang, the surprisingly laid-back teacher for the elite class. Mr. Zhang admits that due to declining enrollment, he's the only training instructor for the elite students. As they walk through the dilapidated area, Zhou Chen understands the school's dire state and the principal's desperation. Mr. Zhang reassures him that despite its state, the school still has its advantages. With a confident grin, the teacher promises that the elite class facilities won't let him down. He leads Zhou Chen into a spacious, high-end gym, officially welcoming him to the elite class. The teacher explains that the students are in the middle of a free training session. As one student unleashes a powerful strike on a punching bag, Mr. Zhang prepares to make introductions. Zhou Chen is impressed by the advanced equipment and the students' motivation, a clear step up from the regular classes. But as he scans the room, his expression shifts, sensing an undercurrent of tension. He notices the other students have stopped training, their cold stares creating a hostile atmosphere. Unaware of the mood, Mr. Zhang calls the students to gather for the introduction. The teacher presents Zhou Chen, reminding the class that only the strong make it here, while Zhou Chen offers a polite greeting. The elite students turn to face him, their leader openly questioning if Zhou Chen has any real skill. With a condescending smirk, he accuses the newcomer of using connections to get into the elite class. The teacher angrily defends Zhou Chen's legitimate entry, but the boy himself seems completely unfazed by the accusation. Ignoring the teacher, the challenger's eyes glow red as he formally issues a challenge to settle the matter. The other students erupt in gossip, shocked by the high-stakes challenge where the loser must serve the winner. The commotion draws the attention of other students, including a pink-haired girl who points out the impending fight. A blonde-haired student stops his workout, his interest piqued by the mention of a new transfer. The teacher tries to de-escalate, reminding them the challenge isn't official until Zhou Chen accepts. Seeing a perfect opportunity to gauge his new power, Zhou Chen calmly accepts the challenge. Meanwhile, a shocked voice cries out from the principal's office, signaling another crisis is unfolding. The principal receives a frantic call, learning his star student is already in a fight. Mr. Zhang reports that Ma Wenhao issued a formal challenge, and to his shock, Zhou Chen accepted. The two fighters stare each other down as the crowd eagerly picks sides, turning the gym into a spectacle. Seeing an opportunity, the principal approves the match, eager to see the results of Zhou Chen's supposed secret training. Mr. Zhang steps in to officiate, laying down the strict rules for the formal challenge and warning spectators not to interfere. Both fighters confirm their rank, revealing they are both Stage 2, much to Ma Wenhao's surprise. The rules continue, forbidding any lethal techniques as the two opponents take their positions in the arena. Ma Wenhao smirks confidently, as the teacher adds that no retaliation is permitted after the match. Zhou Chen remains stoic as the final conditions are set. Surrender or a clean hit to the face will decide the winner. With all the rules established, Mr. Zhang gives the signal, officially starting the high-stakes duel. Ma Wenhao lunges forward, hoping a swift, aggressive strike will catch his new opponent off guard. But Zhou Chen is ready, calmly preparing to counter and end the fight in a single, decisive move. He effortlessly intercepts the attack, stopping his challenger's arm mid-swing with a look of complete confidence. Stunned by the impossible speed, Ma Wenhao unleashes a furious follow-up punch. Zhou Chen easily sidesteps the wild flurry of blows, making his enraged opponent look clumsy. The challenger grows increasingly frustrated, unable to land a single hit on his evasive target. Desperate to pin him down, Ma Wenhao prepares a new strategy as Zhou Chen launches a counter kick. Ma Wenhao unleashes a powerful glowing downward strike, aiming to crush his opponent's advance. Zhou Chen senses the change in tactics, bracing himself as his opponent taunts him for dodging. The challenger unleashes a devastating combat technique, a fiery arc kick designed to end the fight. Pinned to the floor, Ma Wenhao unleashes a tricky ground kick, confident it will finally connect. But Zhou Chen's gaze remains sharp and unfazed, seeing through the desperate maneuver. Using the floor for leverage, he plants his hand and channels his own energy for a counterattack. In a stunning display of agility, he flips and delivers his own devastating kick, catching his opponent by surprise. The challenger's face contorts in disbelief, shocked that the newcomer also possesses advanced combat skills. Stumbling backward, Ma Wenhao desperately tries to compose himself, clinging to the hope that he can still win. But before he can even finish his thought, a fist stops just inches from his face, freezing him in place. Zhou Chen calmly holds the punch, asking if this counts as a clean hit, effectively ending the match on his terms. Utterly defeated, the once arrogant challenger can only stare in silent, sweat-drenched horror. With the duel decisively over, the teacher officially declares Zhou Chen the victor of the high-stakes challenge.